Hi, Jeremy Cordeaux in the Court of Public Opinion. I'm just on air here to let you know that we'll be live streaming the Court of Public Opinion every Friday between 9 o'clock and 12 on jeremycordeaux.com. Please join us. We'd love to have you.
Welcome to Hong Kong Confidential. I'm Jules Hannaford and I'm your host. I'm an Australian woman and I've been living in Hong Kong for many years. I'm a mother, a teacher, an author, and I want to share my wisdom and the wisdom of others with you. Thanks for joining me and I hope you enjoy the show. A warning to our listeners, some of the topics discussed in this podcast may be disturbing. If you need support, please contact your local crisis line or helpline, and if you're in Hong Kong and you'd like to call the Samaritans hotline, you can call them on 2896 0000. Today I'm here with Angela Hancock. Hi, Angela.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming in to join me today.
Oh, gosh, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's very exciting. Angela, tell me a little bit about your background and your childhood. Where were you born and where did you grow up and what was it like?
I was born in England, East London, and my mother was a single mum. She's from the Philippines. She came over to the UK when she was in her 20s and was a nurse. So she met my father in the UK. He's from Nepal, but he had to leave when I was very young. So basically, I never really knew him. And she brought me up by herself. She had to work a few jobs in order to keep things ticking over. And I do remember, my childhood up until I would say my teens was really good. It was always full of love. I had a lot of, I would say, aunties. The Filipino community are very close. And I had a network around me and it was lovely. But I remember going away one week when I think I was about 13. And I went away and I came back. And there was this guy that had moved in who was a lodger, but he was actually my mum's boyfriend. So actually that was a very big change for me from, just having my mum all by myself and then having someone else in the picture.
Had she been dating anybody or did this man just appear out of absolutely nowhere?
Literally, I had never associated my mother with like a man. She'd never been on a date, never been out. And it was I was like, wow. And I was quite excited for her, to be honest. He seemed quite nice. It was all okay to begin with, but there were a lot of changes. I think also coming at that time, I was going through a lot of difficulties, if you like, or changes in school. I never really felt like I really fit in. I went to a Catholic school and most of my peers were Irish. Really lovely, really nice. But me being of mixed race, they always used to call me Chinky, which I found quite bizarre because, Paki I could understand, but Chinky was like, wow, okay. But I think it was just foreign. So I never felt like I really fit in. I was quite good academically as well, which also made me a little bit different. I felt always like on the outside looking in. So actually having a father figure, I kind of felt, oh gosh, I'm like one of the gang now. So it was quite a nice feeling. Unfortunately, he did turn out to be a complete typical wicked stepfather.
How did you realize that he was a wicked stepfather? What happened?
He was very mean. When my mum used to go out to work, well, there were just incidents which, I was innocent, naive. And anyway, there were incidents where he overstepped his mark as, I say father figure, but, as an adult, I was a child and there were things that he did which he shouldn't have done.
Sort of sexually inappropriate stuff.
Yes.
Oh,
thank you for helping me.
no.
I feel a bit awkward about saying it. He
sure.
died about 10, 11 years ago. And I always had a very strained relationship with him, obviously. I tried to forgive and just let it go. But, even after the fact, I got kicked out of the house when I was 16. He was the type of person that, we lived in a block of flats. And what he used to do was watch me leave the house and see how long it took me to get down and exit the building, like exit the apartment block. And then he would be constantly telling my mother that I was a slag, that I was the local bike, that I was shagging everybody. He didn't use the word shag. He used a stronger word, but he was very, very derogatory about me and, you know, my sexuality and what I was doing. And, you know, it was really, really hurtful. And I didn't really know how to react to it. And I found my mother was very unhelpful as well. I mean, even when
So she was aware?
She didn't know what was happening between us at the time, but I think she obviously knew that something was wrong. He was quite abusive towards her in terms of he was quite violent at times as well. So I found that quite difficult because I could hear him beating her up from the other room, but I was too scared to actually do anything. So
how does that impact you as a teenage girl, fearing for your mum but not being able to help?
It just makes you feel so helpless. And I was really angry, you know, and I think I was really angry at him, but I was really angry at her for allowing him to come into our lives, because prior to that, I felt like we had this really lovely, idyllic little bubble life. And, you know, I was happy. I thought that she was happy too. But yeah, I mean, you know, everything changes. Of course, that's natural, but it wasn't a change that I was
ready for.
No.
Yeah. Did you tell your mum about the inappropriate sexual behavior by this guy?
Well, what happened was when I got kicked out, when I was 16, I got kicked out, and he basically told my mum that my mum wasn't allowed to come and see me. We weren't allowed to have any contact. But my mum used to sneak round and see me, which is just bizarre, isn't it? But anyway, I went to actually live with a friend of mine who was her mother. Well, anyway, they had a very dysfunctional setup as well. So I just was able to go and stay around there, and it was quite fine. But there was about 2 years where I was by myself, and my mum would just come over every now and again.
And that's
visit.
from the age of 16 to 8. It's so young to be on your own.
It was good because I had this friend. She was my rock. I had someone to lean on, but he actually suffered a nervous breakdown when I was 18. So I don't know what happened. We were kind of trying to reconcile. And I think I went round to the apartment or the flat. And when I was there, he actually slit his wrists. So I had to.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I had to take him to call the ambulance and go to the hospital. And anyway, they sectioned him. And when I was talking to the doctors, because he became really, really paranoid, thinking that there was people after him. And then he started talking about, pedophiles. And so obviously what he'd done had been playing on his mind. But at that point, I told the doctors, and obviously my mum was there as well. So.
And how did she respond?
To be honest, she didn't really respond at all. She didn't say anything. And I think that's one of the things that kind of bothered me, because I was expecting her to go, "Oh my God, you poor thing. Oh, I didn't know." But she didn't say anything. And then after the meeting, and it was always she was always very concerned about him and how he was going to be and what was going to happen, and never seemed to worry about me.
What did that feel like, not getting that kind of response after sharing something so personal and scary?
I felt really let down, to be honest. I felt like there was a big hole, I just felt really inadequate. I don't know. It's still something now. I mean, that was a long time ago, and still now I talk to my mum about it now. I'm actually quite open about talking to her about it, because I think there's, she's nearly 80. Well, she's 78 now. So she's going to be 79 this year. And I don't want there to be anything left unsaid between us when she does go up to heaven.
Yeah.
And, just being realistic about it. I feel it's important to get everything out in the open. So, I mean, my mum had a very difficult life. I actually found out when I was 25 that I had a half brother that she never told me about.
Oh, wow. What was that like?
Well, I was backpacking with my two friends, actually went to the Philippines. My mum knew I was going, and I was going to be staying with the family. So I'd only been back once before when I was 5. So this is the first time I was going back. And obviously when I was 5, I was with her. And this time I was with my two friends. And I turned up at my uncle's house, and my uncle was telling me about my brother and what he'd done and what he'd bought and this. And I was like, I don't have a brother. You must be mistaken, you know? And he was like, no, you have a brother. This is your brother. And he was showing me pictures. He wasn't there at the time. He was in Taiwan working. But I mean, I just was totally gobsmacked. And I phoned my mum and I was like, something you haven't told me?
Did she know straight away what it was?
Oh, yeah, but I was like, I mean, isn't that something that and she said to me, I mean, even now when we talk about it and I tell her, you know, I mean, again, that was just, you think you know someone, but actually I just had no idea about.
Did you feel let down again or just shocked?
You know what? I did feel let down. At the time I was angry and I was shocked, but I think I've been hurt a lot. And I've buried a lot of my memories, a lot of my past. I've just like cut off and I've just haven't thought about it. But when I think about it now and I think about my mom, and I just feel that I can't judge what she did because I don't know how she was feeling. I wasn't walking her shoes. The decisions that she made are not the decisions that I would have made. I know that. But you know, I mean, she did the best that she could in her circumstances. So she just said that there was never a right time to tell me and she didn't know. But the reason I felt so hurt maybe and so disappointed is that she didn't feel that she could trust me, that she thought I would judge her and have, you know, I mean, I said to her, you know, you brought me up to be a rounded person and you know me. I mean, anyway, I suppose that she never felt that she could open up to me like that.
Have you had a relationship with your brother since then?
Well, we have contact. He's been over to see us from the Philippines. So he's been here. But to be honest with you, I mean, he's a priest, actually, which is quite, I always find that really amazing. But no, not, I would say that time has, and
geography as well.
And still, there's still something inside me, I think, that's just like, you know, holding me back. I'm trying not to, but the culture is quite different as well. So he is my half brother, but I don't feel a real sort of connection there.
Yeah, which is understandable given you didn't know him till you're 25. You grew up in completely different cultures and he lives a very different life to you and you live in separate countries now. So it's kind of understandable, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite funny. I took my mum this summer just gone to see Andy's dad. Andy is the name of my brother, his dad, and they haven't seen each other for over like 56 years.
Oh, how cool.
So that was quite an emotional experience and she was really nervous, but you know, they hadn't really been in touch a lot, but Facebook is very good. So the last few years they've been communicating on Facebook. His wife died and obviously my stepfather died. So it turned out that, you know, and it's not that whole, they got back together happy ever after, but it was just nice for them to be able to connect again.
Yeah, that's very sweet, isn't it? After all these years and given how old they both are.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Your mum stayed with your stepdad despite everything.
Yeah.
Do you have any sense of why she did that?
I feel that my mum is very much a follower and for her, it was just easier to stay than to go.
Yes, it can be very daunting for some women to uproot and leave and be on their own again and not know what the future holds for them.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I mean, I'm very quick to sort of say, how could you do this? But, you know, I mean, when I look at my relationship with Pierre, with my late husband, I can see
how the patterns can form.
And
and we'll come on to that. Yeah. So just before we move on to your first husband and that relationship, tell me a little bit about what impact did all of those difficulties in your childhood have on you physically and mentally and emotionally?
Well, I've always felt somewhat inadequate, lacked self-confidence. I mean, people will look at me and go, oh, you seem so confident. But actually inside, I'm like, oh my God, I have to take a deep breath every time I do something. I always feel like I'm out of my comfort zone, but I think that's a good thing, you know, trying to expand all the time. But I did suffer from bulimia for quite a long time.
So when did that start and finish?
When I got kicked out, basically.
Right, okay.
I think the feeling that I didn't have any control over what was happening in my life, I felt let down by men generally. I mean, obviously with my dad, I always wanted to have a dad. You know, where's my dad? He's going to come back one day. And I used to write letters to him and his family. Well, to him, but eventually, I think I got one when I was 8 years old from my uncle who basically said, oh, your dad never told us about you. He's living in America now. He's got another family. So can you stop writing, please?
When you were 8? Oh,
Yeah.
my gosh. So you've got a whole other bunch of siblings out there that you've never found. Oh, my gosh. Wow.
You know, again, that whole side of it, I just thought, so some people would say, oh, why don't you go and find your dad? And well, you know what? He didn't want me. He knew where I was, and I've done just fine without him. So obviously he had his reasons. He had to go and do what he had to do. So, you know, good luck to him.
Yeah. Exactly. How did you cope with the bulimia, and what effect did that have on you?
Food then became an obsession, of course. It's constantly, you're not eating because you're hungry. You're just eating because it's a way to control. It's emotional. You feel comforted, you feel good, and then you feel guilty.
And it's cyclical, isn't it? Just keeps going around and round.
And that whole body image, again, looking in the mirror and just looking and not, you know, just hating what you see and feeling like a victim, you know. And I think that one of the things that kept me going when I was in that sort of, I was feeling really down, was the fact that I just thought to myself, my mum came from the Philippines. My dad came from Nepal. They met in the UK. God has put me on this earth for a reason. He did not, you know, bring them together from those two distant lands for no reason. So there's obviously a reason that I'm here. And actually that thought kept me going through most of my life. I mean, you know, there's been very difficult times. I'm very fortunate now. I'm in a very happy place, but it's taken a long time to get here, basically.
Oh, I'm so proud of you. That's awesome. And it's great that you had that little bit of hope and self-belief right from the beginning, or, you know, right from the early days. How did you end up in Hong Kong?
I used to basically work for a law firm, Simmons & Simmons, and I worked for this amazing lawyer. Her name was Audrey, and she was a corporate finance lawyer, and basically just like my role model, my idol. I just worshipped her. And she basically used to work all the hours that God sent, because lawyers do. But I was her PA. So, you know, she trusted me to help her, to work with her. So basically we formed a really strong bond, a very good relationship. And, you know, when she was doing all-nighters, I would be there with her. She would send me home in a cab, and then I'd get changed, come back. And I felt really like, oh, I'm really part of the team. So for me, her part of my sort of self-development, it was really, she poured belief into me. So it was a lovely time for me. I was really busy, and I was actually exposed to a whole different world. I'd never really experienced people who had been to university. I didn't even know about university, to be honest. I was like, wow. And I was working with all these lawyers and graduates as well. And I was thinking, oh, they're no different to me. You know, I could do that. When I was looking at that and looking at myself, it gave me more confidence. So I did a law degree part-time while I was working.
Wow.
And Audrey supported me. And
oh, that's brilliant.
What happened was she got transferred out to Hong Kong, and I resigned because some of the other partners wanted me to go and work for them. And I just thought, I work really hard for her because I love her. And I wouldn't have been able to give that same amount of dedication to somebody else. So I thought, I'm going to leave while my reputation is still good, and it's still, and I basically went traveling. That's when I went traveling with my two friends around the world and found out I had a half brother. We did stop in here to see Audrey on the way round. And then she just said to me, when you finished your travels, come out. And so I came, and I was a paralegal for a while. And basically she went back, and I stayed.
And you stayed.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. When did you recover from the bulimia and all of that? Or was that still much later?
Well, when I was still in the UK, I discovered exercise. So I was bulimic probably until I was about 20. So for most that I can remember, I was quite
unwell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what happened was I started to go to aerobics classes, and then I met a couple of teachers who I found really inspirational. And, you know, I would go to their classes. I would really enjoy them. And then they said to me, oh, you should become a teacher. So I transferred my addiction, if you like, from throwing up to exercise. So I ended up being one of these people that would exercise 2, 3, 4 hours a day. I would go in the morning, and I would go maybe at lunch, and then I would go in the evening. So I would just go all the time.
Did you recognize it at the time that it was unhealthy behavior or that it was addictive?
No, not at all.
There's a term, isn't there, called exercise anorexia? Yeah. Or did I make that up?
Well, it would fit me. But I mean, definitely I really was. And, I used to use exercise as a way to offset everything that went into so if I was eating, whatever I was eating, I would be calculating how many calories it had and how much exercise I needed to do, and that is not a healthy way to live.
It can really consume your whole being, can't it?
It just takes over. And the exercise component, so throwing up, I mean, even as an adult, if I was even up until a few years ago, if I felt, oh my God, I've really been a pig, then I would just go and throw up because I think, that's the easiest way to deal with it. But I mean, obviously that's not.
Yeah, it's not healthy.
No,
but
not at all. It's terrible.
It's an old pattern, isn't it? It's an old behavior that you had learned and it becomes second nature in a way, doesn't it? Because that's not something I would ever think of doing. Even when I'm overstuffed, I wouldn't want to have that experience to throw it up.
It's not a pleasant experience. And fortunately, I'm not doing that now, But,
congratulations. But you can see how the patterns can stay for a long time and it can be really very insidious, can't it?
For most of my adult life. And that's one of the things why, now that I'm a health coach and I really focus on wellness and health, not weight loss, not fitness. I focus on health because health is a whole all-round package and it starts in your mind. It doesn't matter how much exercise you do. It doesn't matter what you eat. If your mindset is not right, then you're never going to be healthy. And I think for me, this is one of the biggest things. I spent most of my adult life trying to exercise, obsessed with food, but, I never really understood that transition until I started using my nutritional system, which I know we're going to talk about later. But for me, that was the biggest change, discovering a way to basically change the mindset. I still love to exercise, but instead of exercising to set off what I'm eating, I'm exercising because I enjoy it and I enjoy eating, which is something when you are bulimic or when you do have an eating disorder, you actually don't enjoy eating. It's not a fun thing. It's not fun when someone says, oh, let's go out for dinner. Let's go for drinks. It's like,
it's stressful, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not something that, brings pleasure. And that is when you consider so much of life is revolved around food and drink, it is debilitating.
Did you have therapy to get to this place?
No.
Oh, wow. So you've just got there yourself by really looking at your lifestyle and then building your business and changing your mindset.
One of the things that comes with the nutrition company is a whole sort of self-development and awareness and mindset, and you can plug into it as much as you want to. So I think I was really lucky that it came at a time when I was ready, I was open, I was looking for something, and it just fell right in. And fortunately for me, I met some really nice people who really helped me, really pushed me in the right direction. And again, just breathed a little bit of belief into me and set me on my way. And, now here I am.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's really great. So we'll talk more in a minute about your coaching and your nutritional company. But before that, let's just step back to when you met your first husband in Hong Kong. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because I think one of the messages here for our listeners is you've been through so much adversity. You've had such a difficult life up until a particular point, but you've been able to turn it around and to have a great company, a happy marriage, feel good about yourself in your own skin. And, we all have our own little insecurities that will probably bubble under the surface for everybody for the rest of our lives. But you've turned your life around significantly. Tell me about your first husband and what happened there.
So I met Pierre Ingrassia. He had the first Western expat martial arts studio in Hong Kong. So that was called Fighting Fit, and it was in Stanley Street. He was an amazing martial artist, very charming, very charismatic. Yes. So
just for the listeners out there, I know Pierre. I'd met him many, many years ago. We lived on the same island.
So he
was huge.
Yeah. And he was larger than life. And he was the type of person that you either loved or you hate it. There was no kind of in between. And he was very much black and white as well. So obviously I was very attracted to the whole lifestyle that he presented, the way that he presented himself. And we had a very exciting romance. It was fun. We partied a lot, we trained a lot, we partied a lot. And one of the things that attracted me to him was the fact that he was so outgoing. Unfortunately, I think at the time I was still finding myself. I'd come to Hong Kong. I was, if you like, I felt like I was
inventing yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, Hong Kong is very much a place where you can come, and because nobody knows you, they don't know your backstory, they don't know anything about you. You can be whatever you want to be. Unfortunately, my old self-doubts and my old insecurities did start to come back. So, when I was looking at the other people that were also in my peer group at the time, all successful lawyers, they all have great backgrounds. And I started to feel a little bit insecure and not good enough again in the circle. And then I met Pierre, who, totally different, not in that whole sort of corporate world, wasn't worried about anything like that. So I felt really comfortable with him. And as I say, we had a very exciting romance, but I think quite quickly I knew that probably it wasn't supposed to be a long, lifelong romance.
What were some of the red flags that you noticed early on?
Your gut just tells you. I just knew, but I think that I'd got into a situation that I didn't know how to get myself out of it.
Oh, does that remind you of anybody? Your mum?
So,
why couldn't you get out? Was it fear? Was it right? Okay. So what were you afraid of?
So Pierre was very controlling, and I'd often try to leave and he would often threaten me.
What, threaten to kill you?
Yeah.
Would he?
But he would not just threaten to kill me, he'd threaten to kill my family as well, which was something that,
Yeah, it builds their control.
Yeah.
In domestic violence situations, when they threaten you, that's one thing. But when they threaten the family, that gets them more power over you because you don't want to put anybody else at risk.
Some people say, well, who cares if he kills your step? It was horrible anyway. But, you don't want anyone to, to suffer on your behalf. But anyway, I remember that sometimes I used to run out of the flat and down our lift, and the guard would be there, and he'd look at me and I'd be running, like trying to run out the door, and then Pierre would come and he'd drag me back in, and there would be, so it just got to a point where that relationship, he was a great person. He was a great martial artist, but he was not a very good husband, and he had his own issues, so I feel I don't want to say anything bad about him because we have a beautiful daughter, and without him, I wouldn't have her. So at the end of the day, the relationship that we had, there were two people involved in that relationship. I should have listened to my instincts.
Yeah.
And there's
many, many people that have that same feeling in hindsight, listen to the instincts early on, and then you can easily get trapped, can't you?
To be honest with you, that marriage was the worst, probably 7 years of my life that there were times when I just wanted to kill myself. Every day I would think, oh my God, I was so close to ending it all.
And was that a serious thought?
The only thing that stopped me was my daughter.
Is that because you could see no other way out?
I couldn't think of how to get out of the relationship without anybody else suffering. And, to be honest, Pierre he wasn't even happy with me himself, but he wasn't happy. And I think one of the things is that initially I had tried to save him. But the thing with is you cannot save someone who doesn't want to be saved. And he really couldn't see anything wrong. And some people want to live their lives like that, but he had his own issues, which if he'd have looked at them, probably he would have been able to put a lot of things to bed himself, and he would have been happier. But that he died. And I can say that I think that if he hadn't, my life would be very, very different now.
Yes. So that really freed you up to change track completely in the way you were going.
Well, we were sort of living apart at the time when he did die.
Oh, so you had been able to separate from him, had you?
We had agreed he was living with a friend of ours at the time. and we were talking. It was very new. It was very, very, all very still in the early stages. But yeah, it was being able to breathe. I mean, there was still lots of times when my daughter would come back from visiting and she would say to me, "Oh, mummy, what's a bitch? And what's this? And what's that?" And I'd have to bite my tongue, or, there were times when he was meant to come and he didn't come, and trying to explain, because I also very, very careful. I didn't want to muddy the view of my daughter of her father. That's his job.
Yeah. And he seemed to be doing doing a good job of it.
At the end of the day, it was just a very difficult time. And as I said to you earlier, now I hung on to that thought about my mum and my dad being put in the UK for that specific time. Just,
And you had a purpose.
Yeah.
When he died, that was accidental or unexpected, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What impact did that have on you and your daughter?
Obviously, I was upset, but I did feel a little bit of relief. Am I allowed to say that?
Of course. After 7 years in I guess we can say a domestic violent relationship or a very controlling relationship, that would be a very understandable reaction or response, wouldn't it?
I felt free, and I felt sorry for him because he had so much to give and so much to offer, but he never allowed himself to do that. But selfishly, I just felt, oh my God, I felt really relieved.
Yeah, I'm sure.
For my daughter, I think it's been a little bit trickier because she was very young.
Was she around not 8 or 9?
I think she was 5.5.
Oh, right. Okay.
So quite young. And it's difficult for children, I think, to vocalize or communicate how they feel, or to fully understand, integrate what's happened, what death means, what, it means that daddy's not coming back anymore. Monty, anyway, is a very sort of quiet, introvert type of person. I don't know whether that's because he died or that was just her character anyway. I remarried, and Joe is very easygoing, very laid back. He's just a typical dad joke person, very, very lovely. He's a total blessing. So I think that we are very happy as a unit. But when you're asking me how Monty is, I think maybe sometimes it could be that she didn't really have an opportunity to grieve Pierre and the loss of her father. So I don't know, maybe that's me just thinking about it too deeply, but.
Well, you can't really know, can
No.
you? But it does make some sense that it would have some sort of impact on her, even on a subconscious level.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself as a survivor of domestic violence?
Oh, now this is a good thing. Victim or survivor?
Yeah.
I like to call myself a warrior.
Oh, that's great. I love it. I love it. I feel like a warrior too.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about it the other day because I was writing a post on Facebook and I was thinking, victim or survivor sounds like, you've just crawled out of a hole and you've just made it. And I think to myself, no, I did more than survive. I'm a warrior. I really dug in and I found what was inside me. Now I feel like a Odysseus.
Oh, that's amazing. Going from this difficult childhood into discovering you had a brother and having that shock and having bulimia, then moving to Hong Kong and then living in a domestic violent, difficult relationship for 7 years. Then you are freed by this fateful accident where Pierre's gone. Where did you go from there? Did you meet Joe quite quickly?
Well, actually, I knew Joe from before. So Joe used to train at Fighting Fit. He used to come to my step classes. He used to train with Pierre as well. And I hadn't seen him can't even remember. I just bumped into him one day on the street and was like, "Oh, hello, how are you?" And it was actually in the January before Pierre died. So when Pierre died, I messaged everybody that was in my phone to say, this has happened. He and Pierre's business partner actually did a lot for me to help with the organization of the funeral and just all of the logistics. He just helped with everything. He had been close with Sherry and helped Pierre with his business. Anyway, he was just like one of those little
angels in the background.
Joe's just always been an exceptionally lovely guy.
Oh, isn't that great?
Yeah. And I mean, so after that happened, I think we just got together quite quickly. And it was one of those things. I mean, we went out a couple of times and then Joe has never been keen on children. And I said to him, you know, I come as a package. So you're either accepting the package or there's no point. And, you know, basically from that conversation, we just knew it was quite a serious thing. So we've never played games. And that's one of the things as well. It's just been very easy the whole time.
What's it like going, because I don't know, what's it like going from this very difficult, tumultuous relationship into something that seems very stable and healthy?
This is what I knew this was going to happen for me. I was always thought to myself, when you have a lot of adversity, something good is going to happen. I just kept thinking to myself, something good is going to happen. And
oh my God, I love that positivity. Like I'm getting goosebumps. That's really beautiful.
Joe is going to really be upset when I tell you this, but what I did as well, I read a lot of self-help books and I did a lot of visualization. And when I said to you, I bumped into him, one of the things I was doing was thinking about, one of the books told me, think about the qualities of the person that you want to be with. Think about, you know, what type of, so I was looking for somebody who was kind, who was generous, who was loving, who was stable, who didn't have lots of emotional baggage, you know, was just a nice person. So just qualities which I needed. And then the book was saying, think about people that you know that possess those qualities and visualize. So I did.
And you were thinking of specifically of Joe, that he had all these qualities and then you ended up with him. Oh, I love that. That's so cool.
He knows, but he's quite funny because at first he was like really freaked out when I told him.
Yeah, because is he just really pragmatic and straightforward and yeah.
Actually, now whenever we have because we're a couple, we've been together for a while now, whenever we have a little like, he says, you picked me.
Yeah.
And I literally did.
You did.
But no, I mean.
Was that the turning point in your life for you changing the way you feel about yourself and your well-being and your mental health and all of that?
I think when I started reading the self-help books, when I was trying to get out of the situation with Pierre, that's when I started to read. And then I just carried on all the books and reading. And then I think once you realize that you're not the only person that's going through what you're going through and that there are ways that you can help yourself, then yeah. So I felt so much more in control. I couldn't believe it actually when I did bump into Joe. I was just like, wow, this stuff really does work.
Yeah, that's great.
Mean, people talk about serendipity and coincidence, but then, and they could say it was just coincidence. Well, it could have been, but he used to work in HSBC and I worked in Cheung Kong Center and I never saw him like ever. And then, after a few months of me doing this kind of visualization, I just happened to bump into him, not once, but twice in like the space of a couple of weeks. And once was in after work, just like, he was walking one way and I was walking the other. And then another time just at lunchtime. And I just thought, hey, this does really work.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, how cool.
Yeah.
So would you say that the self-help books really did help sort of substitute therapy perhaps because you weren't seeing a therapist, but you were kind of getting it from reading the books?
Yeah, I think, when you asked me if I got therapy, I did get the therapy through those books. I mean, I think that there's a lot of things that I didn't really know where to go or who to turn to in terms of therapy. I was thinking, but the self-help stuff is a nice soft place to start. And I have gone for hypnotherapy in the last couple of years just because, like I said earlier, I do still feel that there's a little blockage in me. I have tried to let go of as much as possible, but I do feel that there is still a little bit in there. And actually hypnotherapy has helped to kind of that last little
This
release.
Podcast might help too. This might be another little form of therapy.
Definitely.
Release. When did you start your business and how did you get into coaching?
I've been a fitness trainer for a long time. I actually qualified as a group fitness instructor way back in the UK when I was in my 20s, as I mentioned.
When you were doing your exercise anorexia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I used to teach at Fighting Fit, obviously with Pierre. So I used to teach the morning sessions and then go to work and then come back and then teach in the evenings and do a lot of classes at the weekends and stuff. But actually, I retired from Simmons & Simmons in 2010.
That's the law firm.
That's the law firm,
okay.
yeah. And then I was kind of at a crossroads. I didn't really know what to do with myself. I did a fashion and design course because I'd always wanted to be able to make dresses for myself. I did woodwork and metalwork at school instead of domestic science. And I always kicked myself for doing that. I was like, really? Are you really going to be going making screwdrivers and stuff like that? So
yeah.
Anyway, so I went on a fashion and design course here in Hong Kong, and I really liked it. I loved the teacher. We had a runway fashion show and I won the bag making. So I made a couple of leather bags and a couple of evening gowns from silk, and I really enjoyed it. But like going into fashion really is not me. That for me, I can't see myself in that world, but I just enjoyed that whole thing. And then I started working as an EA in my daughter's school. And I thought, I quite like being a teacher. It's quite fun. And the kids, they adore you, don't they? They're so sweet.
Great. It's a great career being a teacher. I absolutely love my job. I'm so lucky to have worked in an industry or education for all these years, and I love it.
You have such a profound impact on people. I think it's so important. And I was really impressed by the teachers that I was working with when I was there. And it was a way as well to be close to Monty. So when I was doing the educational assistant thing, I used to really love it. But then I thought, you know what, I want to do something more. I need a career, now. So I did a PGCE and retrained to be a primary school teacher. But I really did not realize how much work you guys do.
Yeah. Thank you. Can all the listeners out there know? Yeah, it's full on.
It's, people say, but you have 6 weeks holiday. I mean, you work so hard.
From there, what did you decide to do?
Well, so what happened was when I was doing this PGCE, my eating habits, my exercise, everything went out of the window, and I piled on quite a few pounds for me, and I didn't feel very healthy. So I also didn't get a contract at the end of my PGCE, and which I was a little bit disappointed with, because one of the other girls that was also doing a placement at the same school as me, she did. And I was like, again, there's me. I'm not good enough. And that whole kind of self-doubt set in again. But at the end of the day, I just thought, okay, I ended up doing supply work. But what happened was in that interim period between finishing the PGCE and like the start of the school term, I was trying to lose the weight that I'd put on. So I was exercising again, like a crazy person, and watching what I was eating, but much more in control. No more binging, no throwing up, but just very aware of what was going into my body. But I wasn't seeing any results. I wasn't seeing any difference. And I mean, there's only so much exercise you can do, really. And when you're exercising because you want to lose weight and not because you're exercising because you like it and you love it, it's a completely different mindset. So actually, one of my friends had just come back from Hawaii. So she's 6 foot, blonde, beautiful anyway. But she was telling me about this amazing system that she'd been trying. And she said, you should try it. And I was like, no, I'm not sure about that. I'm not really into all of that stuff. I tried Herbalife before and it didn't really work. I wasn't going to give it a go, but I saw her a couple more times and she just looked better and better every time I saw her. So I thought, you know what? I'll just give it a go. So I bought my first system, and
what's it called?
It's Isagenix.
Okay.
So Isagenix, I did a 30-day system. And
is that like where you use shakes to replace meals?
That's right. Yeah. So I had 2 shakes a day, which replaced breakfast and lunch. And then I had 2 snacks and a meal. And 1 day a week I was fasting. So I basically did that for 30 days. And my goal was to release 10 pounds. And I actually did that very, very easily. And I felt amazing.
But didn't you feel really hungry?
No, I didn't. I tell you what, the most amazing thing was Joe would phone me in the middle of the day because he was the stockbroker at the time. And he'd be like, "Are you drunk?" And I'd be like, "No, I'm just really happy. I mean, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm not going to be drinking at 10 o'clock in the morning." But I just felt really good. I felt really energized. I felt full of the joys of life again, which, you know, given the fact that I hadn't got a job and I told you I was going through that kind of like self-doubt cycle again, feeling fat. I did kind of say to Joe, you know, I'm so sorry, babe, you've seemed to have married a dud. I married you and it's then all downhill from here. But not feeling hungry, not at all, because at the end of the day, the system just floods your body with everything that it needs. You get all the nutrients that you need. It's really high quality protein. You know, I can't speak about the quality of it enough. I don't want to go on. I'm not just advertising it, but it's such a great and convenient way if you're looking for something that's easy, because a lot of people are time pressured. A lot of people don't have the inclination either to meal prep. It takes a lot of effort. And even when you are really careful about what you're eating and you are sort of watching what you're doing, you know, it's not always easy, especially here in Hong Kong, to get everything that your body needs. There's such a wide spectrum of vitamins and minerals that get lost, basically because of everything's imported and also because of soil depletion and just generally in the world that we live in at the moment. But the system that the Isagenix system is really just designed to help the body to cope with everyday stresses. It brings everything back into alignment and it just sets you up for success.
Sounds really interesting. I just think the fasting for a day, I'd be crying by the end of the day if I didn't eat anything for a whole day or stabbing somebody with a pencil or something. Honestly, I've never fasted a day in my life, as you can see.
To be honest with you, I have a lot of people that really do have that kind of, you know, oh my God, I can't do this. But I'm sure there's lots of days when you probably get to lunchtime and you think, oh my God, I haven't had anything to eat yet.
No. Okay, once in a blue moon. I eat.
So what I would say to you is this then, when I'm talking to clients who are like, no, I can't, I'd be just like, you know what? It's not an issue. If you don't want to do it, if you don't feel ready to do it, then don't do it.
Yeah, you don't have to do the fasting, do you? You can literally do the 2 shakes and the snacks and the meal every day. That works just as well, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, the idea of the fasting is basically to allow your body to regenerate. So when you're digesting, your body is taking up a lot of energies, using all the body systems to digest the food. That means that it doesn't have time to go and check what needs to be repaired or replaced. So when you fast, what happens is there's a few things that are going on. When you fast, your body releases a lot of human growth hormone, which allows it to rejuvenate cells which are either dying or not working properly. You're also going to be using fat as fuel, which is a good thing. And also we give you a blend of aloe vera and other plant-based extracts, which help the body to release toxins from your fat cells. So fat actually protects you from impurities. So by releasing those impurities, you are allowing the fat cells to shrink. So that is one of the ways which helps the body to improve the body composition. So when we're talking about Isagenix and talking about health, it's a way to improve body composition, which does have the side benefit. If you need to lose weight, you will lose weight, but from fat mass and not from muscle. So the fast days do, for some people, are a bit like, oh my God, no, I can't. But actually, when you've done a few shake days, what happens is your body will get used to eating less volume of food. You're going to feel much more energized. And actually, when you're thinking about doing a fast, it becomes much more mentally acceptable.
Okay, that makes sense. Yes.
Yeah, it's not, we wouldn't say to you, right, you're going to do a fast immediately, you know, unless you want to. So there's different protocols, different ways in which you can use the system. It really depends on the goals that you want to achieve. But I like to coach people in a very gentle way. So if someone says to me, I don't want to do a fast, I'm going to say, okay, don't do it. Just do the shakes. My coaching philosophy is always that I would never say to anyone, you must or you have to, because I think that is a very onerous and a very negative way. For me, I don't want to be controlled by anyone.
Yeah, exactly. So is Isagenix the cornerstone of your coaching program, or It is. And what else do you do within your coaching program?
I look at the nutritional aspect through Isagenix, and then I will help with fitness. So I'm a fitness instructor, as you know, but my focus always is to help people with their nutrition first. Nutrition, I believe, and I mean, so much research says that is 80% nutrition. Exercise for fun. Exercise to tweak. Obviously, if you're an athlete, then exercise is more important, or if you're a fitness competitor. But for most people, for the average person, for the weekend warrior, nutrition has to come first, and then everything else is going to fall into place.
Yes, because when you start eating more healthily, then you have a more healthy mindset immediately, and you start to think more about how you can exercise and how good that is for you.
Exactly.
And would you say, how does that affect people who have bad sleep? Do you notice that their sleep can improve if they get on this program and they do the fitness?
I have a lot of clients who, basically are telling me that they're sleeping like a baby for the first time in years, that they feel really rested when they wake up, that even if they're not getting a full night's sleep, they're still feeling energized. They don't feel that afternoon dip. And one of the main reasons is because you are flooding your body with nutrients that it's not getting normally. And we have a product which helps with cortisol levels, cortisol being a stress hormone. Stress, obviously, in the body is fine, but if it's left unchecked and it goes too high, it can cause long-term damage. So what we're trying to do is help your body to, obviously we can't take away the stress, but just help your body to cope with the stress. So when a stressful situation occurs, it's not going to send you into a tailspin. You'll just be able to shrug your shoulders and go, okay, let's just get on with it.
Okay, so this is really interesting. So is this also a program where you can help manage your anxiety?
A lot of nutritional deficiencies contribute to mental health and mental, issues. So if you are giving your body what it needs, then yes, it can help with those types of things. I mean, I'm not medically qualified, and this is a nutrition food program. So we're not allowed to say that it helps with any medical conditions or cures anything. But I've certainly worked with a lot of people who have not had to take as much medication or have stopped medication, just generally feel a lot better. I work with a lot of women who are going through menopause.
That's me. And there's an episode, I don't know the number, but look for it, Menopausal Musings. There's a great episode on menopause. Anyway, carry on.
Well, a lot of my menopausal clients have reported that, they're not getting the hot flushes. Their moods are much more even, that they are sleeping well and just feeling generally good and losing weight. So, I mean, I do try to focus on the health side of it, but obviously weight loss is one of the components that a lot of people are looking for.
Sure.
So,
and especially in menopause, we put on a lot of weight around our tummies in particular.
Yeah.
And it can, have an impact. And menopause can be so tough. Oh my gosh. It's hard.
Well, and this is the thing. I mean, I think until I'm pre at the moment.
Yeah.
So
just beginning. I'm right towards the end now, but I'm still really struggling with the sleep aspect, the weight aspect, and the anxiety, which I've never, ever had before.
So you might find it's quite beneficial.
I know. We might have to get that contract out and get started. That's my next question. Is this something that you've got to continue with forever? Is it a 6-week program? Is it a lifestyle? Tell me about that. What am I signing up for?
Well, okay. No, I mean, this is actually one of the questions people ask me all the time. So the thing is, you never know how you're going to feel until you've put it into your body. You just don't know. If it's only food, and if it makes you feel really good, then why would you stop taking it? If you find something that makes you feel energized, that makes you feel happy, that, people look at you and go, oh, wow, you look amazing. You're glowing. You start to have a different aura about you. And that sounds like, but it does. It comes from the inside. When you start to feel good, it reflects out of your body. You've got this whole glow about you.
You know what? I absolutely love watching our friend Donna's videos. Donna's into Isagenix. She's in the UK and she does these little live videos every day and talks about her shakes and stuff. And They just brighten my day watching her, and I really can see how it helped her.
Well, actually, Donna is in my team. So when I first started using the system and it was being introduced in the UK, I straight away said to her, right, you've got to try it. So I brought her a pack over and I gave it to her. I said, have a go, see what you think. And she really enjoyed it. And I mean, it made a difference for her. So yeah, and I loved seeing her.
Yeah, she's great, isn't she? So is her business going well over there? Is she getting people on board?
UK is really, really good. In the UK, they have more products. They also have a 30-day money back guarantee, which they don't have here, but you can get your money back here, but it's just slightly more of a step process because of the consumer laws here are slightly different. But yeah, in most other jurisdictions, you can just get a 30-day money back guarantee. So it's
Which
really
is quite nice. But I imagine that there's not that many people that want their money back or are unhappy with it, is there?
No, but to me, it's kind of like the company saying, look, we stand by. We know that you are going to have a great experience with this. So we're prepared to let you go for 30 days. Decide.
How do you, I say to you, okay, great, I want to try this. I want you to be my coach and let's work this program. Sounds like AA. How does it work? Do I meet with you? Do it online? What happens?
To be honest with you, we can do it whichever way the client wants. A lot of people like to meet face to face. So I'd like to bring them to the office. There's an office in TST and there they can try the products. They meet me. They get to know me a little bit. I really get to know them, what their goals are, what they're looking for. Some people just like to do everything online. That's fine as well. Some people are too busy. So I have a lot of professional women that I work with who really don't have time, but I check in with them once a week. So we have weekly calls where I will ask them how they're doing, figure out how we can tweak. So, you know, if they've got business meetings and lunches and stuff like that, how we can adjust to suit their week schedule.
Well, that's great. So that they're not having to go, oh, I can't eat at this event. Yeah. So they can still fit that in and not sort of miss out on dinners or business lunches and stuff like that.
And it's also giving them the confidence to know that they can actually go out and have a blowout. It's okay. The thing about Isagenix, and this is, you asked me earlier, is it a diet? How long do I have to do it? I would say it's a lifestyle that you can incorporate. So people that come in and out of it, they do their 30 days or they do their 60 days or they do 90 days. They get to a point where they feel comfortable in their skin. They look in the mirror, they feel great. And then they might say, all right, I'm not going to use it for a while. They'll come back to it. Or I have people that, you know, maybe will just have one shake a day because it's convenient or they'll do a cleanse every now and again because they understand the importance of allowing the body to rest and allowing that regeneration process. But it really is your own decision, how long and how much you use it for. I'm really just here to guide you. So I had a gentleman who in his late 50s, he says to me he wants to lose his gut, but he's not going to give up his bottle of wine. Every night he'd come home, not a whole bottle, he'll say, I have a couple of glasses, but that is my way to de-stress and unwind. And if you tell me that I can't have that, I'm not doing it. And I was like, well, I'm not going to tell you can't. I'm going to say to you, your results are going to be less drastic and less effective if you don't give up that wine. But if you must have it, have it. If it's the difference between you doing it and not doing it, then have the wine. So I am in touch with him, but about 3-4 weeks later, I'm at an event and he's at the event as well. And I hear him talking to some other people saying, oh, I'm doing this nutrition system and I haven't had to have a glass of wine coming home. You know, I used to drink wine all the time, but now my family have said to me, oh, what's wrong? Something's, you know, different.
Wow.
So the fact is that,
it changes your mindset.
He was using wine to de-stress because he needed it. And then after a few weeks using the system, he didn't need that because he felt good. So, you know, it is all about just allowing your body to transition and to go through it. That's why I don't say to people, you can't.
And just sometimes do people just buy the product and then that's the last they have to do with you and they just go away and do it themselves?
Yes, there are. I mean, and that's what I say. I don't like that because to be honest with you, part of the service is you get me to coach you, or you get whoever brings you in to coach you, to guide you, to support you. Because a lot of the time people are very motivated and inspired when they first start. But after a couple of weeks, that glint, that shininess tends to wear off. And that's when you actually need someone to say, hey, how's it going? What's happening?
It's like having a sober coach.
Yeah. Well, I think as well, people tend to miss, unless their trousers are starting to fall down, they kind of miss the fact that, okay, they might be sleeping a little bit better. Their skin might be better. Their hair's a bit shinier. They're not as grumpy with the kids. They're able to play, they're a bit nicer to their spouse. So all of these little things, although they're not like physically, oh, I've lost weight, they're all improving your life, and it's all about improving your life as a whole. And I think one of the things that I really try to focus people in on is those non-scale victories, because that's more important than you being 10 pounds lighter.
And I guess for many people, they might be coming in and it might be, right, I want to lose weight. That might be their main goal. But in actual fact, they could actually do so much more than just do that and could really change their whole lifestyle.
Well,
I mean, if I was going to do it, I'd like to sleep.
Yeah.
My sleep is terrible.
Well, and this is what I say to people as well. Just imagine you do achieve that. How are you going to feel? How is it going to make it? Yeah. How's it going to make a difference in your life?
More patience. Yeah. Happier. Yeah. Be able to stay up later because I know, I've got to go to bed at 8 or 8:30 because I know I'm going to have this struggle to sleep. Whereas if I know I'm going to sleep well and have a good sleep, I could stay up till 10. Look out.
I mean, it's about improving the quality of your life. So if someone says to me, I just want to lose 10 pounds, that was my goal. I want to lose 10 pounds. But actually, it wasn't that I wanted to lose 10 pounds. I wanted to look in the mirror and like what I saw. The 10 pounds, it's actually that I didn't like what I saw when I looked in the mirror. When I meet people and when I talk to them about their goals and what they're looking for, this is the emotional reason that I'm trying to uncover. Okay, why do you need to do that? Why is it important to you? What difference is that going to make? So for me, when it was losing the 10 pounds, it was so when I looked in the mirror, I felt good again. I felt whole, if you like. I felt that I was where I should be. And I felt that my husband not that he would ever complain at all,
Yeah,
but
that's sweet. But I know what you mean. Yeah, you felt sexier.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And
here's another question for you. This is like I'm having my own free coaching session, everyone. I'm overweight for my height and in menopause, and I'm 53 and I have sore joints. My knees, my wrist has osteoarthritis from an accident. But I wonder whether this program would help your joints as well. I guess losing the weight would help for a start, wouldn't it, on the joints?
Well, weight loss definitely, I think, is always going to help with the joints, but the whole system is designed to reduce inflammation in the body. So it's not that it can't cure anything, but
it could assist it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So it really does reduce inflammation or acidity. So it encourages the body to come back into a more alkaline balance. So your body is constantly swinging.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Moving.
I get it.
So it could help.
Do you have a story of somebody who's had a miraculous reinvention of themselves through this program? You don't have to name them. Can you think of anybody that really has turned their lives around through this program?
I could tell you about my upline who basically...
What's an upline?
So she's the person that introduced me. So I mentioned my friend Freya. I didn't mention her name, but her name is Freya.
Yeah.
She'd come back from Hawaii, and the person that had enrolled her had a business in Hawaii. Now, she was basically an educational teacher. She had about 600 employees. And what happened was she was getting government funding, and the government funding was cut. So she basically lost her whole business. Now, that was about 6 years ago, and she was introduced to Isagenix by another lady. And basically, in the 6 years, she has managed to not only improve her whole health. Now, she's a bit of a health freak as well. So she's very, very gluten-free, very conscious about the quality of everything. So it had to reach a very high benchmark in order for her to even consider taking the product. So, the fact is that she's using it. It's, for me, that's like, okay, it's good. But she went from bankruptcy to now she's earning over $10,000 a week through sharing this system. Now, when people think about money, they think, oh gosh, so how someone's turned their life around. Money, of course, is not the be all and end all, but money enables you to do so much more, to give so much more, to be present. So she's able to stay with her son. She can play with him on the beach. She can go rollerblading with him. She can go on holidays whenever she wants to. She can take the family on holidays, but it's all about generally just having choice and options. So when I'm doing this coaching, it's all about health, but it's also about freeing people financially as well. So there is a financial opportunity with it, which again, 80% of people are not sort of interested, but there's a few people that I am working with who are also running with me, who are sharing the system with other people because they can see that one, everybody deserves to feel great. Everybody does. And if I don't share it with someone, or if they don't share it with someone, it could be that person who isn't getting the sleep, is feeling stuck, is feeling alone, is in a place where they're really unhappy. So it's not about shoving it down people's throats. It's about saying, look, there's an opportunity. I can show you a way. And if you're ready, then I will guide you. I'll be your coach. And if not, then it's okay. Doesn't matter.
That sounds really cool. Do you also find that when people get on this program, a lot of emotional stuff can come up because they're making these changes? And do you support them through that as well?
As much as they allow me to, yes. So there are a lot of, particularly when you're cleansing, there's a lot of research that says that, when you have a lot of negative emotions and experiences, I know that for myself, and I think that the cleansing has been a very big part of me being able to let go of a lot of stuff, but a lot of negativity can be stored in your body. So when you're cleansing, it's like you're peeling back layers. And yeah, a lot of people do experience a lot of emotional release. I'm not saying that they're crying all the time, but some people do. It affects different people in different ways, but there is a lot of shedding, if you like, and
reinvention.
Yeah, I do. I mean, most people, we have a big online global group, which we use for everybody to plug into, for coaching, for motivation, for inspiration. And there are so many people in there that share their stories about, how they've basically found themselves again, how they have found a lust for life again, how they've, even people that thought that their life was over, you get into this routine and you just keep going through the motions and you think that that's what it's supposed to be. But actually there's so much more. And once you kind of unlock that and you realize that, a lot of people say, oh God, it's like a cult. Well, it's not, but if it is, and it's a happy one, which makes happy people and they're all positive, and
if it's a healthy cult.
What's wrong with that anyway? But it's one of these things where I think that you have to experience the change to really understand it. And not everybody goes through this epiphany, but if you find this at the right point in your life, then you will definitely be able to get to the next stage, the next level, the next chapter, and really experience life again. Because I know that even though I was in a really happy relationship, I was in a good place with Joe, it just brought me to it took me where I needed to be. I mean, now I'm really, really enjoying what I'm doing. I'm the number one consultant for Isagenix in Hong Kong, and I'm really loving the fact that, it's enabled me to travel. I've been on 12, if not more, all expenses paid trips all around the world. So America, Australia, Bali, Phuket, Taipei.
And are these all like Isagenix conferences?
Some of them are conferences, but some of them are just retreats. So they're just basically holidays where you go and everything's paid for and it's great. I mean, I went to Maui last year. We had Darren Hardy, the motivational speaker and leadership guy. He was there and he gave us private training. It was amazing. But anyway.
Wow. It really, really does sound very, very appealing. What's the name of your company, Angela?
My company is Bust a Rut.
Bust a Rut.
Bust a
That's
Rut.
a really cool name.
Raising the bar on health.
How can our listeners get in touch with you? This podcast is listened to in over 100 countries around the world. So do you help people outside of Hong Kong?
Oh, definitely. So I have a big client base in the UK and the US, but I'm open to helping anybody anywhere.
How can people get in touch with you?
So I have a Facebook page. It's called @BustARutHK. And I also have a website, www.bustarut.net.
So that's BUSTARUT. Okay.
.net.
.net. Angela, thank you so much for meeting with me today and talking to me about your life and how you've turned it around and, you know, the happiness and the healthy lifestyle that you're living now and how you've overcome so many difficult times in your life. It's been absolutely fascinating and I really wish you good luck. And I hope that people contact you who are interested in changing their lives.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah,
really appreciate the opportunity.
Great. We've been going for hours. For my listeners out there, if you feel that this podcast is something that you have enjoyed and that you might have friends that would be interested in this topic, please could you share it with them? And if you could take the time to rate and review me on iTunes, that would be amazing because it will help lift me up the iTunes charts and then people will be able to access this podcast and just stay healthy. Thanks very much, Angela. See you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
So that brings us to the end of another Hong Kong Confidential podcast. I'm Jules Hannaford. Thanks for joining me. And I hope you'll be with me again next week. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please can you go to iTunes to rate and review it. I would really appreciate your feedback. You can email me at jules@hongkongconfidential.net and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Hong Kong Confidential. If you'd like to hit me up on Twitter, it's @Jules Hannaford. I would love to hear from you.
Hi, Jeremy Cordeaux in the Court of Public Opinion. I'm just on air here to let you know that we'll be live streaming the Court of Public Opinion every Friday between 9 o'clock and 12 on jeremycordeaux.com. Please join us. We'd love to have you.